I just completed day 2 of the Mental Spring Cleaning Unchallenge. Each day for 5 days, I teach you one specific visual thinking technique that's all designed to sweep away the mental clutter, reduce overwhelm, get clarity, sort out your thoughts and feelings, and all that good stuff. And today was often people's favorite day of the week, historically speaking. And certainly today's tool was the number one tool I have used for the most number of years and most often. And it is the third idea shaper in the Idea Shaper book. But if you know about Zettelkasten or pile of index cards or lots of different techniques that use sticky notes, it is the same basic principle, which is using a stack of little pieces of paper, sticky notes, slips of paper, scrap paper, whatever works, and getting out one idea per, in this case, index card. So today's specific tool was what I call the Overwhelm stack, when you very simply just need to get everything that you're carrying around up here onto a new surface. In this case, we're making our thinking modular by putting one idea, one task, one something on its own index card. And that is the most basic explanation. Certainly sign up. You can watch the replay through Friday. And if you missed us, catch us next challenge, or certainly I have a whole full deep dive day called Stack Magic. So, but I love sharing the stack because we see such immediate results. It is so flexible. It's such a big relief. For me, I notice that when there is too much in my head and I just try to get it out into a list, the list works. I keep on adding things to the list. It works until there's too many things on the list and I'm just overwhelmed again. But when you make your thinking modular and get your ideas out one per, in this case, index card, I can then sort through those cards and just hold on to the very next thing that needs to be done, knowing that everything else has a place to live. So that is what we did today in the Unchallenge. Absolutely join us for the remaining days. I would love to see you. And I wanted to share a great answer to a question that came up in the session. And the question was about basically, how do I organize these guys? Because they, like me, if there's paper, it just kind of reproduces and it's everywhere. And I said in the session, if I pulled back that curtain, you would see you're not alone. So very simply, my answer was a couple things I love to wrangle these guys. Very simply, hair bands. I do not have hair, but I have hair bands. I love these because they last longer than rubber bands, which tend to get brittle and break down. So very simply, if I have a stack of cards, I just make sure they're held together either by a hairband or a good old binder clip, and it doesn't have to be one of these fancy wire guys, whatever works. And very importantly, I like to make a title card. Just very simply make sure that there's a card that says what the heck this particular stack is about. Aside from that, the only other thing I do is make sure they all end up in the same place, which is a shelf over there. And that's it. So there isn't any more dramatic or intensive kind of organizing system. Just as long as they end up in the same place, when and if I need to go back to that particular stack, I know where to find them. But I so appreciated that Neelam shared with us a little bit about how she organizes her stacks, and watch what she had to share with us. Other observations, Neelam?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what the last question was, because I
Yeah.
have boxes. I have a couple boxes, but even within the boxes, there's like two stacks. These are like notes I'm taking on two different books I'm reading. And oh, exactly, title. Like
Yeah.
so I'm yet to put a band or a clip on this one, but this one's clipped. So it's not like perfect, but as long as they live in one place, and then once a month or whenever you have time, you can also like just process them. So I end up discarding some stuff too.
Yep.
And then there's always just piles of paper. So please know you're not alone. And this is like stuff I'm yet to process. And a lot of this just has to go into my computer because these are work notes, believe it or not. So But once they live, some of them need to be digitally living because they're relevant,
Mhm.
um, but some of them don't. So this is my biggest struggle for like I'm in between. I work so much digitally, but I think better analog. It's a lot of trial and error. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's all I
Well,
wanted to say.
great. Thank you for sharing those nuances to how you work with your stacks. And I appreciate, I think how many other folks have that analog versus digital, like struggling going back and forth, right? Absolutely. What's the right tool in the moment, right? So Neelam,
Yeah.
you know that if you just need to get things down fast,
Yes.
that the physical tool is going to work best. Then you have
Hmm.
a very simple system of where they go to be
Yep.
processed. And then you can say, okay, now some of these do need digital to be digitized or typed in or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So this is just a great example of what's the right tool for the job.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you can use both and you can go back and forth and all sorts of good stuff. Excellent.
Hmm. Yeah.
Great.
And just
Fantastic.
one
Thank you.
last thing to
Yeah.
add to that is
Mhm.
capturing can work really well sometimes digitally because if you just need to capture lots of stuff, right? Like type, copy, paste, links, excellent digitally, but a lot of times then it's just a catalog of stuff which is not processed or like what do I do with all this stuff that I've
Yeah.
gathered, right? It's like a digital hot mess. But then taking that and then spending some time analog doing the thinking work with it usually helps me to like, okay, what is it that I got from this capturing stuff? And a lot of times,
Awesome.
a lot of that also gets deleted. So it's a good way to filter out, yeah, or just archive, like, oh, maybe I'll need this one day in the future. Then it just
Yep.
lives in the archive. Yeah, thanks.
How many got something out of what Neelam shared that they could use right away? Lots of hands. And I just want to emphasize filter out. It doesn't have to be that everything accumulates forever and ever. Amen. Though it tends to over here. But you certainly that idea of like being able to filter out things and how useful that is. Awesome. Thank you so much. I want to highlight 4 things from what Neelam shared in today's session. 1, simple. A plastic case, a clip, a title card, a box on her desk that she puts the cards in. She called them imperfect, but they look like they were working perfectly well. You do not need fancy materials, simple, simple materials. Second is this idea of processing the information later. Noticing she's doing a certain kind of thinking as she's reading these books and taking the notes, and then later processing that information. So think about this if this is the what that she's capturing, processing is the now what or so what. What do I want to do with this information I captured? Third, this idea of filtering out information. Everything she captured is not necessarily useful to move forward with. And 4, the age old question of digital versus analog. And the answer is both. We do different kinds of thinking when we're using different kinds of materials in different modalities. So, what kind of thinking she does as she's using physical index cards to take those notes, a different kind of thinking when she's working digitally and capturing all those digital notes. I know for me, I could take a lot of notes this way. The best next thing I can do to process that information is physically print it out and mark it up. So again, it isn't this or that, it's and the right tool for the right job and different tools at different times. So, a little bit about today's Unchallenged session. I'd love to see you in the next one, and happy stacks.